Hi everybody, my name is Ronaldo Quintero, also known as Reiq, and today I'm gonna be teaching you how to draw feet. This is a long time request tutorial, especially because it's one of the areas where artists tend to struggle the most. It's very difficult to draw, although it's a very simple shape overall. I think it's something that many artists are lacking in terms of drawing the whole body and then complementing the silhouette or the body that you have with a foot placement that match the action of your character. So this is really something important that I want to talk, and I'm gonna be teaching you and talking about the silhouette of the feet as well as the part of the feet and how they interact with each other, as well what are the things I myself keep in mind when I'm drawing the feet. And I'm gonna be giving you a lot of tips and a lot of suggestions on how to practice and how to improve your drawing, especially when it's like drawing feet, which is, as I said before, is one of the difficult areas to draw. But once you get the grasp of it, you're gonna be having fun interacting and making your characters interact and be more dynamic in your drawings. Especially because the feet, as well as hands, they have a lot of body language that can be essential to translate what we want to translate with our drawings. Therefore, I invite you to enjoy this tutorial. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'm gonna be working on new tutorials, and I'm probably gonna be working on a more in detail explanation of this tutorial. But this is a good start, and I hope you enjoy this video. And I would like to thank all my patrons who have been supporting these tutorials through the last 2.5 years, and I'm gonna be making more. So thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy this tutorial. Thank you. To draw effectively the feet, we must think about the overall shape and silhouette of the feet in different views. This will create a graphic shape that will serve us as a shorthand when drawing our characters. This is the easiest way to remember how the feet shape is. When you think about the overall graphic shape, then you can draw that, and then later you can break it down the parts and be more specific. As well, we need to have a gesture on the way we draw the feet. Mostly I think about gesture flowing from the ankle all the way to the toes. That's from the upper part of the feet. And then from the lower part, I think about the curvature of the sole. If it's making any curvature, then I think about it. But always I try to refer back to my silhouette, so it's a really good way to start drawing the feet before going to very specific parts that might make your drawing more complicated and you might have more struggles. So the overall shape is a good way to start drawing and to start understand how is the overall look of the feet. Okay, so now let's break down the parts of the feet, and I will start with the ankle. I like to include the ankle when drawing the feet, so I can create a solid drawing connecting the leg to the overall feet. So I like to keep that in mind as a very essential part of the feet. Then we have the heel, and then we have the bridge. These parts I think about as the more solid parts of the feet. Then we have the ball of the foot. That one will be really important when we think about our character walking or running or pushing against the ground, right? Then I have the toes all together in this shape, and I like to group them also. I avoid confusion. If I separate all the toes, it will create a more complicated drawing, so I think about it as an overall shape. Then the ankles, I like to think about the ankle bone as a very important landmark, and for this I have to think about the two essential bones of the ankle, which is the tibia and the fibula. All these two bones will show us very specific landmarks that we can track and we can use when we are drawing the feet. So definitely a very important area to think about all the time when drawing the feet. Okay, let's talk about the movement of the foot and the ankle. And movement is really important to consider, especially when drawing the feet and when we're drawing from imagination. If the foot is going downwards, it will be called plantar flexion, and if it goes up, it will be dorsiflexion. These are the two key words to keep in mind when drawing the feet, when they're going up and down. And if the foot is swinging to both sides, it will be called eversion and inversion. When it's on the other side, it will be eversion, and it's when the feet goes to the inner side, will be called inversion. So we have inversion, and then we have eversion, inversion, and eversion. Understanding the movement range of the feet is essential, especially when we're drawing from imagination. This way we'll avoid drawing feet that have a really weird positioning and is looking awkward. We will have more natural drawings as long as we keep between those movement and body ranges. I like to draw the feet in profile, and as I say, I've been playing a little bit with the rotating parts of the body and using the ankle joint and the ball of the foot to rotate the toes and as well as the whole feet. This is a good exercise just to keep in mind and to see what it looks natural or not. And the longer you keep drawing from your reference, you will be like more knowledgeable about which parts are making the shape of the feet and why it looks the way it looks. And this is something that understand, and I will definitely encourage to practice using reference from athletes or figures in movement to just to have a better grasp of the whole range. Okay, so I'll start drawing the cylinder as the first part. Notice that it's not completely straight and it has an angle. Then I like to keep as a reference the ankle bones, and I start like planning from there where is the bridge is gonna be and the angle as well as the bridge. And I like to add the bridge of the foot and then the heel of the feet. So this way I have a solid structure, and then I can add the toes. And don't be afraid to change a little bit the drawing if you feel that maybe the toes might be a little bit short or might be a little bit too thin. It's about refinement and retouching a little bit your drawing as long as you get the right proportions of the feet. Don't draw straight lines completely vertical or horizontal, because it will result in a very solid and robotic drawing that doesn't look natural. Try to think about the angle of the ankle, and from there you can draw the ankle bone and think about the position of the bridge. And I like to think about the gesture flowing from the ankle to the ball of the feet, and then I try to add the rest of the parts, including the toes and then the heel, and try to avoid, as I said, straight lines, and keep the angles going, and think about which parts are rotating and which parts are not rotating or changing in your drawing. And this position of the feet is really common. You can draw a high heel easily on top of that, and you'll have already a high heel feet ready. As from the frontal side is the same. I go for the cylinder, and I think from here I like to draw and reference a little bit the joints of the ankle to have as a reference point to start expanding the shape of the bridge of the foot. And the bridge of the foot is wider at the bottom and shorter at the top, and from there I draw it as a box to keep the feeling of form, and I draw the ball of the foot, and from there I draw the toes. The smaller toes are pointing to the middle toe, so that's something to keep in mind. And the outer joint will be lower than the inner joint. As I mentioned it, keep in mind how the rest of the toes converge to the middle toe of the feet. That will help greatly for the gesture of the toes and to the curvature in general. That's something that is really important to keep in mind for the rest of the future drawings that you're gonna be doing. And Definitely double check again and see where you can change and the feet and make it more natural user reference as possible, as well keep in mind the overall gesture of your drawing. It's very important to understand the mechanism as we know so far, but also we have to understand how the feet interact with each other. And instead of thinking as a single feet and a single foot going on, think about a pair. Think about what is the overall feeling of your character and what you want to show to the viewer. If the placement of the feet can tell a lot about our character. For example, the first one, I'll say something a little bit playful and probably a little bit shy. And the second one is more of a heroic or like standing pose, feet grounded to the floor. And then the third one will be something a little bit more playful and more in character, right? Something that is confident, that has a lot of balance, and that is, confident, as I said. Keep the feet together as a group. Think about it as a whole unit that will tell us about what our character is feeling. Look at your reference and see what is the overall look of the feet. Does it show confidence? Does it show like nervousness? Does it show a different wave of behavior? That's something that you should look in your reference and then apply it to your own drawings. Okay, the next part I want to talk about is drawing the bottom of the feet. And this will be, I think, is the easiest part of drawing the feet because we already related to kind of the shape that it has. We all wear shoes and all that, so we have seen how a shoe looks like. And that'll be pretty easy, to do. For this, I recommend you to spend time figure out the shape, working it around. Sometimes the proportions are not the right ones. Also take into account there are many different kind of feet, so it depends on the kind of feet you want to draw. But mostly what you have to keep in mind is that the outer side is straight and the inner side is more curved because of the arc of the feet. Once you have this shape, then you can section the toes and then separate the toes from the overall shape, and keeping in mind also the gesture of the toes. We are really familiar with this shape. The toes can be tricky because, as I said, the feet, there are many variations of the feet. And I realized in this drawing that actually my toes are kind of like short. They are not as long as I would like to be, or as I would like to have in my drawing. And I actually changed that at the end. Think about the toes as a rounded, soft, like circle for when you're drawing the bottom of the feet. This is where we place and we touch the ground, so it's kind of like soft and rounded. And think about also that shape that we see in all films of a footprint. That's a classical shape. So if you have that in mind when you're drawing the sole of the feet, that's basically the shape that you need to have. You can also take a piece of underwear and draw the bottom of that underwear just to understand the graphic shape of it. And then you can break it down, and then you can add more more details and all that, depending on according to the drawing that you're making. So I'm drawing here what I think are the contact points to the ground. If you have a high arc, then probably it's going to be less around the side, but this is kind of like the typical footprint shape of anything mostly. And that's what I want to like keep in mind. And sorry if I said this again, but that's, for me, is a flat shape that I can bend around and I can change the shape any way I want, but always keeping that shape in perspective or foreshortening. Especially if you're drawing a weird angle, you think about how that shape will look around. And again, think about the flow of the lines when you're drawing the overall shape of the feet. That's something that it's always good. I like to reinforce that sense of gesture when drawing the overall shape. So you use like bigger lines, create a shape, and then go to the specifics. Okay, and as for the top view, basically it's the same shape, a flipped shape in this case, and I'm doing basically the same for this top view. Here I would like to add some of the ankle bones and then add the ankle as well if you are looking for kind of like a top view. And then the fingers, as I say, all of them collide to the middle finger or the middle toe, and then I shape better the toes, more like adding like small triangles between them to create that like separation between each of the toes. In here, yeah, I adjusted the length of the toes. I think it's more natural if it looks a little bit like longer. But again, that depends on the feet you're drawing. If you're drawing like dwarf feet, they'll be pretty different than these ones, eh? Okay, so what I want to draw now is well, more feet, but I want to draw the way I draw feet. And I think about my cylinder that we were talking about, and I think about how the leg and as a cylinder will flow to the front of the feet. So I think about the front of the feet and what is the main gesture that I want. Is it like standing on her toes? So if I want to do something like a pointy feet, kind of high heel, kind of drawing, I just think about first the ankle, then I think about the direction of the front of the feet, and then I look for my ankle bones, and then from there I start thinking about the ball of the feet, and then I like to connect. That flow and try to get the toes or there, and then I like to add like later on the heel. I like to add the heel and connect that. So that will be how I draw the feet in general. Like I like to keep in mind all the time my cylinder, and then later on I like to keep the flow going on. Also, I think about how everything is kind of connected and flowing. I like make sure the lines are connecting. That's more like a profile view, so that's not that difficult. But if you want something more like 3/4, and then I think about what kind of view I'm looking this feet from. If it's from the top, then I'm gonna draw my cylinder, and then I'm gonna try to place my circles here for the bony areas of the ankle, and then I'm gonna go from here, from the inner part of it, and expand like this to create that plane for the rest of the feet. And then I'll go straight ahead and then start giving that roundness from the ball of the feet, and and try to get the gesture of the feet of the toes, and then divide. I like to divide first the toe so I can kind of like have a space for the rest, and then I just count like 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have like 4, and then always count. And then I like to shape a little bit the toes, and then give it a little bit of shape. And then I like to add the heel. I think about the heel like in perspective, how much it will show. It's usually good to have like a little bit of the heel that flows with this, man. And then you'll find that maybe your bones are like too exaggerated, but now we have a feet that flows, and the rest is just adding the nails and working it out a little bit more. So that's basically what I do when I'm thinking about that. I like to think about if I'm drawing the feet, like if it has kind of action, like what is the action of that feet. So I like to go and think about that shape for the bridge of the feet, and then later I add the rest of the toes. Always like keep in mind the body areas of the ankle. They always help you to keep in mind what's going on. And probably I want to have the feet a little bit higher there, the heel, and then we have the bridge. Don't forget to keep it like keep the form going. Maybe a little bit of fold here of the skin, and then again I would like to divide and think about the toe looking a little bit up, and then I like to have the flow of the rest of the toes. And I think like from here will be nice. Like I try to like eyeball it basically. 1, 2, and 3. And then after that I can like give it a little bit more form and shape, and maybe I can work out better the toe, and from then I can like, okay, now I have my feet and it's doing something. Maybe I have to like work a little bit the ankle, but that's the thing, like don't be afraid to correct and learn from your references, and go a few times and then, you know, change the proportions, because it's hard to get it right at first. And but also think about like the ground, you know, what is the ground, what part of the feet is touching the ground, and that's really important in general. So that gives us some gesture and some energy. You know, it's like this character is like stepping on the ground and like sliding, right? So it's like sliding, and then we have some energy going on there, and that's what I like to think about feet in general, because it gives a lot of personality and character to our characters. And again, I'm gonna draw another one, and I'm kind of already visualizing what is this feet gonna do. I think about the ankle, as I said before, and I like to sketch and keep it loose, because I know that I'm gonna be reshaping more of that. And then I think about the bunny ankle area, and I bring that line down to the ball of the feet, you know. And then from here I like to expand and then have that bridge, have that form of the feet, and remember the ball there, and try to keep the shape in general of the feet, kind of like this. And now the heel, and the heel part will be something like this, right? Something like this. Definitely use your preferences and practice from them. I don't know how to stress this like as much as I can, because that's how I learn all the small subtleties. And even now when I'm drawing something and I want to have like a better shading on my feet, especially the planes and all that, I look for references, and then I look for that too. So this one is like touching the ground. We can be more exaggerated and make this line go like, feel that it's touching the ground there, and the toes become flat, because all the weight of our character and it's pushing forward. Maybe the toe is not the best, but then we can go back again and refine and work on it. Maybe we can have a better break here on the toes, and yeah, we can erase a little bit what we did before, so we can like have a better and clear image of what are we doing. Maybe the toe, it needs more like weight, and then we want to break down a little bit, like, but that's basically the sketch for the feet. And we can obviously push that, but this is a good way to start drawing the feet in general. If this is too technical, I would like to draw the feet in a more simplified way, which is basically you have your cylinder for the ankle, and then as soon as I can, I just expand, and then I add the heel, and then I add the rest, just like that. You think about the shape of a sock, right? But the thing and the problem with drawing soft and curved lines is that we lost angle. We lost the angles, and we lost the sharpness of the body. So we need straight lines to have more structure, and that it feels correct. Because if you have a curve, then you don't know exactly when it's time to turn like different planes. But if you have more straight lines, then you have the sense of the line, and then you have a sense of the structure, right? So that's what we want to have in our drawings while drawing the feet. Also, we can draw them from behind. From behind, we think about the stain is the cylinder. Then I think about the bridge of the feet, and then I'm thinking like okay, I have the bridge, but then to start giving form to what I have, I need to draw the heel. I need to draw the heel, and then I like to draw the sole of the feet, add the bones, the bony area, and maybe you can draw the whole sole, and then add that little toe there, the pinky toe there, and then we have a better drawing. And notice the angles here are like more straight, more structure. Same here, becomes soft, and then we have a flat or straight line to give us the sensation that it's actually touching the ground. And we can reinforce that line again, making that more, yeah, just like that. And we can think about the center line, just if we want to like add some shading, and that will be like my feet on that way, from the back side. And this is just about practicing a lot and understanding the whole feet situation. What else? What can we do? I wanna like probably like draw something. Like I like to draw the ankle here as well, and then think a little bit about what I want for the feet. For the gesture, let's have some kind of gesture there, and let's draw the bones of the ankle, and then I like to shoot and then draw the ball of the feet, and probably similar to what I did before, but this is part of the practice, and you will notice probably like you can correct a little bit more your drawing after the fact. Don't worry if it doesn't come through like completely perfect or anything like that, but it's good to know that you have the freedom and flexibility to change things. Anything that you can do to reinforce the shape, do. Probably this is like too rounded. I want some more like break in the ankle there, in the angle, and then the toes. That's a good way. Then we make this a little bit more flat because of the feet is touching the ground, and that's another way. And coming back to this easier way to draw the feet is the socks. And so if you're drawing the character, then you can just draw that shape, right? This is a good shape to have an idea of the shape that you want, more like easier and easy to understand and easy to draw, right? So it's kind of like a shortcut, not so difficult. You can think about the sock, and then you can have the contour lines defining where are the toes, right? That works. And the ankle here is like drawing a sock in general. And so they definitely give it a try and try different angles. Let's see if I draw the sock like this, and then I have my ankle, and then my ankle, feet, and then we have some foreshortening, right? And that's how we draw our feet, like a simple shape, more rounded, but still it works pretty well. Also, if you want, you can try it and add more lines to more contour lines to your feet, so you have a better idea and sense of form. It's always useful to do these kind of exercises, so you have an idea how the form is flowing around with your feet, especially around the sole. These areas are more like soft and rounded, so it's always good to have that in mind. Okay, and now let's move on to something else. Okay, and I want to leave you with some of the other drawings that I did for this tutorial. I did a lot of like practices, and this is one of the most of the typical food that I draw for like female characters, and sexy pointy feet, and then all the toes flowing, with some sense of perspective. But mostly I use the ball of the feet to give that roundness and give that form to the overall shape of the feet. But as you can see, it's mostly the same process, right? Ankle, the ankle joints, the ball of the feet, and then I add the toes. Notice how the toes like flow as a staircase kind of flow shape. And then once I have the structure, I reinforce the overall shape. I even try to think about how the sole will look behind the main planes. So it's like looking at the feet as a translucent material. It helps you to think about the sole and the placement of the overall feet. And this one again is the same pointy feet, but I mean, I never get tired of drawing these. They're really like fun to do, and they look pretty good in your characters. And yeah, it's just super fun. And I have other examples that are coming right now. And yeah, don't forget about the gestures, gesture lines, everything with gesture. And here I decided to break down the parts of the feet that I just drew to show you again the parts of the body of the feet and how they interact with each other. And I want to point out this kind of like relationship that is found in the feet with the ankle bone and the ball of the foot. I think about it if it has like a kind of like a elastic band going all the way from the ankle from behind and then going under the ball of the foot. And it's like a kind of like a mechanism which kind of works because the tendons just flow from there too. So it's a good way to find a relationship if you are looking for references and you want to connect the proportions right. This is a good connection and relationship to keep in mind, you know, how it flows, and it flows like that way. It's just something that I look as well when I'm drawing, and I forgot to mention it because it's something that I used to do naturally, that I feel if I do that the whole feet will flow to the ball of the foot, and then I can add the rest of the toes as I work. Okay, these drawings here are more on a technical side. I constructed this very shape oriented as the first video, the first part of this video, and that was my goal, try to represent all the shapes very flat and with form in perspective. And perspective is super essential. I wanted to bring that into mind, like what is the perspective of these feet and how it will look in a more structured way. Also have like the front view of the feet so you can see what is the process and how I did it. You can repeat this video many times to get a better understanding of it, but this is basically what I think the most when I'm drawing the feet in general. Okay, it's simple, easy shapes with form. Now this drawing is gonna be a little bit more technical in terms of difficulty, because it's a lower point of view where we can see part of the sole, and then we see the bottom of the toes as well as the upper part of the feet, and it has a lot of that curve and has a lot of perspective and overlapping. Notice the sole, it has that kind of like 8 shape, a little bit different, not completely with symmetry, but you can see that shape of the sole. So that brings all that arc and all that shape into a beautiful rhythm. And then I add the toes. Think about the toes as well, as I'm looking under the feet and I'm thinking about that perspective and how all the toes overlap on top of each other. I like to think about the sole and about the thickness of the sole, and based on that I try to be more rounded. I add contour lines to accentuate the form of the feet. It's always useful. If I'm sketching, I probably will do this. Do not expect me to draw just a feet just like once, and especially this one because the shape is more complicated, but this would be kind of like the most difficult drawings that you can do for the feet, I think, and I believe. Maybe, well, obviously there are more difficult ones, but this is a very tricky one, especially because of the shape of the sole, and that's why I was talking before that you should see the shape of the sole as a flat shape that bends and turns according to what happened with the rest of the structure of the feet, and that's the most flexible area. I think that is gonna be like more troublesome because it changed a lot of shapes and form according to what's going on with the feet. And with this, I can only tell you like to keep practicing and keep drawing and use your references as much as you can, so you can have a better understanding of the whole anatomy and how the feet should look and what is the ideal feet shape that you would like to draw for your characters. So I hope you had a great time with this tutorial. If you want me to expand a little bit more, let me know what would you like to see about it, and I'll be working on that. So thank you very much for supporting this video, my dear patrons, and I'm looking forward to help you next time. Thank you very much. Alright guys, I hope you have enjoyed this tutorial. I know this was a lot of information maybe, but I definitely encourage you to go back and practice a little bit from what I said before. Try your own way, try to use references and break down the shapes, and I'm sure you're going to be improving your drawing, and especially the drawing feet. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you next time on a new video tutorial or more content from my channel. So thank you very much and see you next time. Bye.